Hello and welcome to the Will or Trust What's Your Plan podcast. I'm Terence Quinn, an estate planning attorney dedicated to helping families like yours secure their futures and protect their assets. Welcome to episode 4 of Will or Trust What's Your Plan. I got that question for you. What is your plan? Today we're going to dig into that, talking about how estate planning, it's extremely essential to make sure you have a strategic foundation for your plan. Last episode we talked about goals. Well, this episode is being very strategic about how we satisfy those goals that you have. Here's a quick snippet from the book. Strategic planning is a must for a solid foundation. Strategic estate planning goes beyond having a will. It involves thinking ahead, considering various scenarios, and making informed decisions to protect your assets and to provide for your family's future. That's what we want to do through estate planning. We talked last episode about making sure you spend some time thinking about those goals and those wishes that you want. In this episode, we need to talk about how to make sure you connect those wishes and those goals with us, or strategically. You want to connect them strategically. A lot of people just put a plan in place. They just go pull down a form online, a will, and they write down who they want to get the stuff. Well, what that doesn't account for is how your business should be handled. What that doesn't, and I'm talking about your actually company that you might own for the business owners out there. What that doesn't necessarily account for is how you're going to navigate tax implications. It doesn't account for those types of things. How you're going to manage, you want everything to be split between your 3 children, but how does that deal with the conflict that you suspect? I know some of you out there know that some of your family members might turn up a little bit differently after you're gone. In my experience, people respond to grief in many different ways, and you never know how they're going to respond until the grief is there. And we never know what's going to happen. So we got to be strategic how we build your plan to make sure that everything is going to be gone correctly. Here's a quick example of being strategic in the foundation of your plan can be so important. A lot of times, one of the things that people do that I find to be problematic more times than not is through estate planning, they might decide for probate avoidance purposes, because they don't want their family to go to probate court, that they're going to add their child's name to their property during their lifetime. So Jane Doe decides that she wants to add her son, little Johnny, as a joint owner on her home so that after she's gone, the property will be his automatically. And she even learned that she needs to make it joint tenants with rights of survivorship, which legally does mean that if Johnny survives his mom, Jane, that the property is going to be his 100% and probate isn't going to happen. And that's all true. In the perfect world, that works out very well. But we don't live in a perfect world. And there's a tax problem that she likely just created when she did that. Aside from potential property tax matters, let's talk about capital gains taxes. Let's say that Jane bought that property 30 years ago for $15,000. And let's say today the property is worth $315,000. And she added him as a joint owner on that property, and then she passes. Well, it's his, probate was avoided, he gets the property, and then let's say he decides to sell it 2 weeks later because he doesn't even live in that state, so he doesn't need the property, he doesn't want to rent it. He sells it for $315,000. There's a $300,000 gain, and capital gains taxes will have to be paid against that gain. Whereas if she had planned correctly and was more strategic, for probate avoidance purposes, she didn't just do a will. Remember earlier in these episodes, I talked about how a will is going to take them through probate court. She didn't just do a will. She knew to do more than that because she met with an experienced estate planning attorney. And so they decided to do a trust, and she connected her property to the trust. We'll talk more about that later. And then when she passed, the trust said, give the property to her son. And he inherited that from her after her death through the trust. He shouldn't have to pay any capital gains tax on that gain when he sells it still for that $300,000 amount. That's one way that a strategic plan, putting a trust in place in the right kind of way and connecting it correctly, can make sure that taxes aren't an issue. One other thing I want to talk about is business owners. One of the things that happens with businesses, we do well and we start a business and we're entrepreneurs and we're excited, but we haven't taken time to create 2 things. Number one, a properly drafted and well thought out operation agreement for that company. And then secondly, a trust-based plan that directs, or some kind of estate plan that directs where it goes. And so when they pass, maybe that person was a partner with somebody else, and now that person's heirs are partners with somebody else. And maybe those heirs are crazy. I know you don't have crazy people in your family, but some of us do. And maybe those heirs that inherited are crazy and now they're in business. Or maybe there's an issue with incapacity and the business doesn't direct how your interest in the company should be dealt with correctly at incapacity. Proper and strategic estate planning is designed to deal with all of that. So when you're meeting with your estate planning attorney, make sure you're talking about these things and you've thought about these what ifs. Your estate planning attorney should take you through that anyway, but make sure you've thought about these things, you've considered tax implications, you've considered future business ownership, and you've considered those crazy folks in your family, if you have any of those. Episode 4. All about estate planning and strategic foundations. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I'm Terence Quinn. As you're listening, you might be wondering, what's the next step for me? If you're ready to start securing your family's future, head over to tquinn25.com and book a free consultation with me. Together, we'll create a plan tailored to your specific needs. But don't wait. Your future deserves it. That's it for this episode of Will or Trust, What's Your Plan? I hope you found today's discussion valuable and are feeling more confident about your estate planning journey. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more strategies to protect your legacy and your loved ones. Until next time, take care of what matters most.